Hello and welcome to this Warhammer Fantasy Age of Sigmar White Dwarf release weekend video with me, Mark, from the Xenovich channel. And today I'm going to talk about, well, basically Age of Sigmar. It is the week of pre-orders for the new Age of Sigmar stuff that's going to be coming out on the 11th. On that day, Ian and I will be going to Warhammer World to get the box set, and then to do a few battles with some people that have challenged us, so we'll do some battle reports then. So if you're around and you recognise me or Ian, just come over and say hi. It'd be great to kind of have some people there that we know, and then we can go and have lunch and stuff like that, which would be cool. But Age of Sigmar White Dwarf, wow, everything's changing, but we knew that. So looking in the White Dwarf, it's got some beautiful pictures of the models itself and the artwork, and some good information on the story. I really like the artwork that has Sigmar, essentially, I'm guessing, jumping up and flying up with his kind of Christian slash, if Thor was a Christian artwork character, it would be that, vanquishing or attacking a huge greater demon, and it looks pretty cool. Then it talks about the 9 realms, and I immediately think about Thor, Marvel's Thor. And if you've watched the films, there's a segment in the first film where he talks about the tree of, I think it's the tree of life, which essentially is the galaxy and all the realms in the galaxy. There's 9 realms, so heaven is the top one, but no one's there in the Marvel universe because it was shut off for apparent reasons. Then you've got Thor's one, which is Asgard, and then you've got Earth's one, and then you've got the Dark Elves and Elvesy one in the corner and stuff like that. And that seems to be what it's like. From just briefly reading, you've got these different realms, and there are portals to these realms, and you can go off and try and take over the entire galaxies or do whatever you want. But here, they're very, very inclusive of all the armies. You've got lots of pictures of current models in new bases, which I'm sure Games Workshop are going to release as a conversion kit, so you can unmount all of your models and put them on new bases. There's note to say that your armies may become extinct in, say, 2 years' time, because Age of Sigmar, the look of the models is completely different to what they are now in current fantasy, and I think in 2 years' time they're going to start having new armies and do it in a completely different way, and it looks like the army comprises of, similar to how War Machine armies are, so small scale battles with the units you choose, and it's going to be similar to that, but having the look and feel of 40k. That's what I think is going to happen. But on the pictures here, it's showing all the models with circular bases, as we knew was going to happen, and a little bit of Sigmar and Chaos, and what's going to be in the new box set, which is quite exciting. I can't wait to paint them up, because I do think the new models are different. It looks like Asgard has gone to war, and it's Thor's people going to war against the demon, chaosy people. I am liking the new models. They are extremely different. I was thinking of looking into War Machine, and this is kind of War Machine-esque. They've also got details on the corn section, which is really good. The models there do look good. I am liking them, but they do, again, they look like kind of corn berserkers that were almost 40k Marines. They're kind of corn berserkers if they had gone back in time, which, if you're a new 40k player, you look on the shelf and you see, oh right, I like the corn berserkers in 40k, I like them now in fantasy, Age of Sigmar. And then it comes to the middle of the book, where it talks about the Age of Sigmar box set, which is the stunning new collection, has a 96-page book, which is unlike anything they've ever published. And right from the onset, you're plunged into the Age of Sigmar. The mortal realms are in turmoil, devastated by the forces of chaos, which was where End Times finished us off. And Only Azure, the realm of heavens, remains unsullied, its gates locked to the forces of chaos. Behind its walls is the god King Sigmar, and he's forging an army and weapons to vanquish chaos. And then it gives you a good 4-page of how to, essentially how to play. And we're going to go through that in detail. So the Warhammer Age of Sigmar, the armies. Before conflict begins, rival warlords gather their most powerful warriors. In order to play, you must first muster your army. War scrolls and units. All models are described by war scrolls, which essentially is like a factions sheet. Providing all the rules for using them in the game, you will need war scrolls for the models you want to use. Models fighting units. A unit can have one or more model, but cannot include models that are used different war scrolls. So you couldn't have a unit of high elves archers mixed with high elves spearmen. Makes sense? Your tools of war. In order to fight a battle, you will require a tape measure and dice. We knew that. Distance in Warhammer Age of Sigmar are measured in inches between the closest point to models, which again we knew. D6s and D3s are the dice that you need. The battlefield. Be they pillars of flame altars or brass haunted ruins. It looks like they're going to be doing new terrain, and the way you do this, because it's fought on an infinite variety of exciting landscapes, the scenery actually does something in the game. The table and scenario you constitute your battlefield. A battlefield can be any flat surface that you put your models on, and can be any size or shape provided it's bigger than 3 square feet. First you decide which of the 7 mortal realms the battle will take place. For example, you must decide that your battle will take place in the realm of fire. Sometimes you'll need to know this in order to have certain abilities. If you can't agree on a realm, you roll off and the one who wins gets to choose. The best battles are fought over lavishly designed and constructed landscapes, which gives you as players a chance to make terrain for it. But whether you have a lot of scenery or only a small number of features don't matter. A good guide is at least 1 feature of every 2 square feet. So as long as you've got 1 bit of scenery, it'll look alright. To help you decide the placement of your scenery, you could choose to roll 2 dice, add them together for each 2-foot square you have area, and you consult the table. So if you roll a 2 or a 3, no terrain goes there. A 4 or a 5, 2 terrain pieces. 6 to 8, 1 terrain feature. 9 to 10, 2 terrain features, or 11 to 12, you get to choose 0 to 3 terrain features to put on that square. Mysterious landscapes. So basically, the scenery is mysterious. If you roll a 1, it's damned. If any of the units are within 3 inches of that terrain feature in your hero phase, you can declare that one is making a sacrifice. If you do so, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, but you can add 1 to all hit rolls for the unit until your next hero phase. Number 2 is arcane. Add 1 to the result of any casting or unbinding rolls made by the wizard within 3 inches of that terrain feature. 3 is inspiring. Add 1 to the bravery of all units within 3 inches of this terrain feature. 4 is deadly. Roll a dice for any model that makes a run or charge move across or finishing on this terrain feature. On a roll of 1, the model is slain. 5, mystical. Roll a dice in your hero phase for each of your units within 3 inches of this terrain feature. On a roll of a 1, the unit is befuddled and can't be selected to cast spells, move or attack until your next phase. On a roll of a 2 to 6, the unit is enscored, and you can re-roll failed wound rolls for the unit until your next hero phase. 6 is sinister. Any of the units that are within 3 inches of this terrain feature in your hero phase cause fear until your next hero phase. Subtract 1 from the bravery of an enemy unit that is within 3 inches of 1 or more units that causes fear. The battle itself, the setup, it looks like Dawn of War, Hammer of an Anvil, and then a kind of crisscross version, which I'll have in the video up here. The players alternate setting up units 1 at a time, starting with the player that won the earlier we win a dice off. Models must set up their own territory more than 12 inches from enemy territory. The general. Once you have finished setting up all of your units, nominate one of the models you set up as your general. Your general has a command ability as described in the rules for the hero phase. Opposite. Glorious victory. In the Mortal Realms, battles are brutal and uncompromising. They are fought to the bitter end. The victor can immediately claim a major victory and win, and they can get a minor victory. For example, if one player lost 75% of their starting models, the other player lost 50%, then the player that only lost 50% claimed the minor victory. The major victory seems to be if you completely destroy them or take down their heroes, and then it's pretty much going to ruin the opponent. Sudden death victories. Sometimes a player may attempt to achieve a sudden death victory. If one army has a third more models than the other, the outnumbered player can choose one objective from the sudden death table, and generals are nominated. A major victory can be claimed immediately when the objective is achieved by the outnumbered player. So the sudden death table. Assassinate. The enemy player picks a unit with the hero or wizard, priest or monster keyword, and you slay that unit. Blunt. The enemy player picks a unit with 5 or more models in their army, slay the unit that they pick. Endure. Have at least one model which started the battle on the battlefield still in play at the end of the 6th battle round. So a unit that would be like at the back of the thing. Seize ground. Pick one terrain feature in the enemy territory. Have at least one friendly model within 3 inches of that feature at the end of the 4th battle round. So that's the sudden death table. The triumph table. On a roll of a 1 to 2, blessed. You can change the result of any single dice to the result of your choosing once during the battle. 3 to 4 is inspired. You can re-roll all of the failed hits for one unit in your army in one combat phase. And 5 to 6 empowered. Add 1 to your general's wound characteristic, which is pretty cool. So if you've got a third more than your opponent, you can be like, right, I'm going to do the sudden death table. If you're a killing army, you can do assassinate. Or blunt. If you're a defensive army, endure. If you've got a lot of table control, a lot of the table, seize ground, and you're guaranteed points towards the end. The battle rounds are the hero phase, where you cast spells and use heroic abilities. The movement phase, you move units across the battlefield. 3 is shooting phase, attack with missile weapons. 4 is the charge phase, you charge units into combat. 5 is the combat phase, you pile in an attack with melee attacks. And 6, battle shot phase, test the bravery of the depleted units. There are pre-battle abilities where some war scrolls allow you to do this, but that will be in your specific armies. The hero phase. In your hero phase, you use the wizards in your army to cast spells. See the rules for wizards on the last page of these rules. In addition, other units in your army may have abilities on their war scrolls that can be used in the hero phase. Again, you'll have to consult your war scrolls. Command ability. In your hero phase, your general can use one command ability. All generals have the Inspiring Presence command ability, and some may have more on their war scroll. Inspiring Presence is pick a unit from your army that is within 12 inches of your general. The unit that you pick does not have to take a battle shot test at the end of your next hero phase. So it kind of makes you fearless. The movement phase. Start your movement phase, and on your war scrolls it says how far they can move. When you move a model in the movement phase, you may not move it within 3 inches of an enemy model. Models from your army are friendly models, and models from your opposing army are enemy models. Well, we know that. Units starting the movement phase within 3 inches of an enemy unit can either remain stationary or retreat. If you choose to retreat, the enemy must end its move more than 3 inches away from the enemy unit. Running, you roll a dice and add the result to your move characteristic, so like 40k's run. Flying. If the war scroll for a model says that the model can fly, it can pass through models and scenery as if they were not there. It still may not finish within 3 inches of the enemy, but it doesn't actually say how far, so it must be on the war scroll how far they can fly, or a generic rule in the rulebook. Shooting phase. You do the shooting. That details are on the war scroll. Charge phase. Enemy units within 12 inches of the enemy in your charge phase can make a charge. Pick an eligible unit and roll 2 dice. Each model in the unit can move this number in inches, so like 40k's assault phase. The first model you move must finish within half an inch of an enemy model. If this is impossible, the charge has failed. Once you've moved all the models in the unit, you can pick another eligible unit to make a charge, and you do this so on and so forth. Combat phase. The player whose turn it is picks a unit to attack with. Then the opposing player must attack with that unit, and so on, blah blah blah. If one side completes all of its attacks first, and the other side completes all of the remaining attacks. When you pile in, you may move up to the units, and each model in the unit attacks. So a 40k style of assault. The battle shock phase is where you do battle shock tests, so like a morale test, I guess. You roll a dice and add the number of models from the unit that has been slain this turn. For each point by which the total exceeds the highest bravery characteristic in the unit, one model in that unit must flee and is removed from play. Add 1 to the bravery characteristic being used for every 10 models that are in the unit when the test is taken. So it'll make more sense when we start playing the games. Attacking. When a unit attacks, you must first pick the target units for the attacks. The number of attacks a model can make is determined by the weapons that it is armed with, and again it is on their war scroll section. Making attacks. Roll to hit, your wound rolls, and then there's a saving roll. The opposing player rolls a dice for the saving roll. You modify the roll by the attacking weapon's rend characteristic. For example, if a weapon has a -1 rend, then 1 is subtracted from the saving roll. And then you determine damage, and then inflicting damage is self-explanatory. Mortal wounds. Some attacks inflict mortal wounds. Do not make hits, wounds, or saving rolls for a mortal wound. Just allocate the wounds to models from the target unit as described above. There is cover system, and wizards. All wizards can use spells described below. A wizard can only attempt to cast each spell once per turn. To cast a spell, roll 2 dice. If the unit is equal to or greater than the casting value of the spell is successfully cast. If a spell is cast, the opposing player can choose any one of their wizards that is within 18 inches of the caster, and that can see them, and attempt to unbind the spell. So essentially, again, yeah, deny the witch, or whatever it was in the old fantasy. An arcane bolt has a casting value of 5. If successfully cast, pick an enemy unit within 18 inches and which is visible. The unit you pick suffers D3 mortal wounds. A mystic shield, you can add +1 to the saving rolls until the next hero phase. The most important rule in the game, as detailed at a wide range of Age of Sigmar stuff, there may be times when you are not sure exactly how to resolve it. When this happens, have a quick chat with your friend. It's about being fun. That's an actual rule. Okay, so that is a brief summary of the rules then. And as you go across, there's some great artwork and how to paint section, which I do love. And I'm going to look at that and see if it's going to help with my painting when I do it. They talk about also the 4 main things: order, chaos, death and destruction. The kind of overarching thing. So order is all the good guys, chaos is all the chaos and the demons, death is all the undead stuff, and destruction is ogres and orcs and stuff like that. And then it's getting me pretty excited for the book after reading this. 40k and fantasy players, I do recommend you get this. It's quite an interesting read, and you get a free model with it, which is brilliant. I do like the model. I'll show the model right now so you can see it on the sprue, but it looks pretty cool. I'm going to get that painted up ready for next week as well. I'm going to check, I've still got some black spray ready to do that, but on the sprue itself it's just pretty cool. It seems pretty simple as well to use, and it's got a Terminator base. It's about the size of a Terminator, so which is quite interesting and should be quite easy to do. So I can use my elves apparently, because as of today Games Workshop has put up the war scrolls for each of the armies. So I'm going to have a look, quickly show you that right Now, so on the Games Workshop website, they've got all the Warhammer Age of Sigmar rules and War Scrolls compendiums. I will put a link to this in the description below, so you can have a look at your army in a completely new light. So you can print this off. It is a free PDF for you guys and everyone out there in internet land. Beastmen, Bretonnia, Demons of Chaos, Dark Elves, Dwarves, Empire, High Elves, Lizardmen. Obviously I haven't played any of these units, but it could, with the rules that are in them, make things like Beastmen and Britannia a little more competitive. We don't know yet. High Elves, though, it is a 29 page book. Introduction, help you sort out your army. So Tyrion, no points value, but he has a movement of 12, an Elmer save of 3 up, 9 bravery, and wounds of 6. His range for Sunfang missile is 8 inches. He has 6 attacks for that. 3 up to hit, 4 up to wound. Damage is just one of them. And then Sunfang in combat is D3. So quite simplified rules when you do get your head around the system. So to hit and to wound is quite simple. Your save is over here. It does have a rend attack. So if he was fighting something with a 3 up, rend is -2. So that would go up to a 5 up save, and it would do D3 damage to the wounds. Abilities, various things are down here. So again, quite good at Games Workshop, and nice that they've done this. So it might save some of those haters for what's been happening. Let's just go to a generic Spearman, because this was quite interesting. I looked at this earlier. 1 wound, 5 up save, 6 bravery, 6-inch move. The Silverwood Spear is a range of 2 inches. Attacks 1, 4 up to hit, 4 up to wound. It does do 1 damage. The Sentinel does 2 attacks rather than 1. The models with the standard bearer add 2 to their bravery instead of being within 8 inches of a highborn. The Hornblower, reroll any dice rolls of a 1 when determining how far this unit can run or charge, which is good. So again, keeps them fast. The Elven Shield, you reroll saves of a 1 for a unit with Elven Shield, which is quite cool. And you can also reroll failed save rolls of a 1 or a 2 for this unit in the shooting phase. Militia, High Hill Spearmen make 1 extra attack if the unit has 20 models or more, so telling you need to get lots. And Spear Phalanx, you reroll hits of a 1, so no going first. It's not done on initiative order. It looks like close combat is you charge, you get to attack first. Your opponent then reacts by attacking back. So you can't rely on your always going first for the High Elves anymore, but they get to reroll saves and they get to reroll 1s. So your tactics are going to have to be a little bit different. Then Archers, 20 range, attacks 1, 4 up to hit, 4 up to wound. There's no rend ability there. You can add 1 to hit rolls for High Elf Archers in the shooting phase if it's 20 or more, again, getting you to buy more models. And once per battle, this unit can shoot a storm of arrows. You double the number of attacks. This unit then cannot shoot a storm of arrows if there are enemy units within 3 inches. Not really saying, it could be in the rulebook, it may not be, but it's not saying a minus modifier to ranges. So the longbow is 20-inch range. I think that is it. You can move with them and shoot, and then it's a 4 up to hit, 4 up to wound, which simplifies a lot of things, which is quite good actually. Silver Helms, a 4 up save. I'm sure they were a 3 up save or a 2 up save before. Again, they have Elven Shields. They've got a Lance Charge. You add 1 to the wound rolls to damage. Knights, you add 1 to all hit rolls for the units, Lancers and Swords if you have 10 or more. Again, getting more of units. What else did I like? Phoenix Guard, 4-up save again. Whenever a Phoenix Guard suffers a wound or mortal wound, roll a dice. If the result is a 4 or more, the wound is ignored. So that's kind of cool. Keeps them survivable like before. So there are different rules and things for these for each unit. So you are going to have to sit down and relearn your army, it looks like, which is interesting. I don't know whether to just print this off and then do up my elves with some round bases, or just continue to wait to see if new elf stuff is going to be released as the months go on. But Games Workshop has done them for you, and there's a formation here as well, which we're all used to seeing. There's a Dragon Host formation, and stuff like that. So yeah, Games Workshop has given us War Scrolls for each army. Okay, so there we go. We've got the armies with War Scrolls, and there's a few different rules. For example, with the Spearmen, they reroll 1s to hit, and they can do stuff with their shields as well. So there's you have to relearn your army, I guess, and decide what you want to do and to pick and choose it, and rebase your armies, which is not so bad to me. I painted all my high elves up, and I haven't actually based them yet, so that's all right. But it doesn't actually say the maximum size of the unit, I don't think, and it doesn't say a points value. So we're gonna have to wait till the rulebook actually comes out and see what's happening with that. But no, Age of Sigmar, very interesting. I'm excited to paint up my new model. Tell me what you think about the Age of Sigmar, whether you're excited or whether this White Dwarf has changed your opinion, whether you're still skeptical, on the fence, or whether you, again, pitchforks and fires and want to go up to Games Workshop grumbling and shouting. Rah! So thank you very much for watching. I've been Mark from the Xenovids channel, and I will see you on my next video. Goodbye.